For 3,000 years, life on Earth had been peaceful. There were no wars, no hunger, and no diseases. People lived happily, enjoying everything the world offered. Technology had advanced so much that machines did most of the hard work. Energy was clean and endless, and everyone had what they needed to live comfortably. The planet was like a dream come true, a place where people worked together instead of fighting over power or resources. Among the leaders of this perfect world was Daniel Carter. He was not flashy or loud, but he was smart and thoughtful. Daniel had spent his life studying how to keep peace between people and solving problems before they became big. Alongside him was Rachel Monroe, a scientist who knew more about space than almost anyone else on Earth. Rachel's job was to study the stars and try to understand if there was other life out there in the universe. She had always believed that humans were not alone, but she never expected what was about to happen. One evening, as Rachel was checking data from deep space telescopes, something unusual caught her eye. Near Proxima Centauri, one of the closest star systems to Earth, strange movements were detected. At first, it looked like random signals, but then the telescopes picked up something bigger. Hundreds of ships moving fast toward Earth. These ships were unlike anything humans had ever seen. They were massive, sleek, and glowing faintly as if powered by some kind of energy humans couldn't yet understand. Rachel immediately called Daniel. "We have a situation," she said, her voice calm but urgent. When Daniel arrived at the observatory, he saw the images for himself. The ships were still far away, but they were coming closer every minute. It didn't take long for news to spread across the planet. Everyone wanted to know what these ships were and why they were heading toward Earth. Instead of panicking, people were curious. For thousands of years, humanity had wondered if aliens existed. Now, it seemed like they were finally getting an answer. Some people thought the ships might be friendly explorers. Others worried they could be dangerous invaders. But no one really knew. Daniel gathered a team of experts to figure out what to do. He asked Rachel to explain what she had found. "The ships are traveling faster than anything we've ever built," Rachel said. "If they wanted to attack us, they could have done it already. Maybe they're just trying to make contact." Daniel nodded slowly. "Let's hope you're right," he said, "but we need to prepare for anything." As the days passed, the alien ships got closer. Scientists worked around the clock to learn more about them. Engineers made sure Earth's defenses were ready, even though no one had fought a war in thousands of years. Leaders spoke to the public, telling them to stay calm and trust that everything would be okay. Finally, the day came when the alien fleet reached Earth. They stopped just outside the moon's orbit, hovering silently in space. Then, a message came through. It was broadcast all over the planet, loud and clear. "We are the Kryn Dominion. Your time of solitude ends now. Surrender or perish." People everywhere froze when they heard those words. The Kryn sounded angry and powerful. But instead of being afraid, many people smirked. After all, humanity had faced challenges before and always found a way to overcome them. Daniel turned to Rachel and said, "It's time to show them what we're made of." And with that, the stage was set for humanity to face its greatest test yet. When the Kryn Dominion's message reached Earth, it sent shockwaves through the planet. The words were clear and cold. "Surrender or perish." For a moment, there was silence. Then, instead of fear, laughter rippled across the globe. People smirked at their screens, shared jokes online, and shrugged off the threat as if it were nothing more than a bad movie plot. After 3,000 years of peace, humanity had grown confident, almost cocky. They didn't believe the Kryn could truly harm them. Daniel Carter and Rachel Monroe knew better. While everyone else laughed, they got to work. Humanity might have been peaceful for centuries, but that didn't mean they were unprepared. Daniel called an emergency meeting with Earth's top scientists, engineers, and strategists. Together, they decided to send a team to meet the Kryn face to face. If these aliens wanted to talk, then humanity would listen. but not without being cautious. Rachel volunteered to lead the mission. She wasn't just a scientist. She was also one of the few people on Earth trained in alien communication protocols. Joining her were Alex Turner, a skilled pilot known for his quick thinking, and Claire Bennett, a linguist who specialized in decoding unknown languages. Their ship, the Eclipse Asterisk, was small but packed with advanced technology. It had shields strong enough to withstand attacks, scanners to analyze alien tech, and a cloaking device that made it nearly invisible. As the Eclipse Asterisk launched into space, millions of people watched live broadcasts from their homes. The ship soared past Earth's atmosphere and headed straight for the Kryn fleet. When they approached, the sight was breathtaking and terrifying. The alien ships were enormous, each one bigger than any city on Earth. Their surfaces shimmered like liquid metal, and strange symbols glowed faintly along their hulls. The Kryn flagship loomed largest of all, its shape jagged and menacing. Alex carefully guided the Eclipse Asterisk toward the flagship, following instructions sent by the Kryn. As they docked, Rachel took a deep breath. "Stay sharp," she told her team. "We don't know what we're walking into." The airlock opened, revealing a corridor bathed in eerie green light. The team stepped inside, their boots clicking against the metallic floor. Moments later, they were surrounded. Towering insect-like creatures emerged from the shadows, their exoskeletons gleaming and their eyes glowing with an unnatural light. At the center stood Zorvak, the Kryn ambassador. His voice boomed as he repeated his earlier demand: "Surrender your world, or we will destroy you." Rachel didn't flinch. She stepped forward, holding up a hand in a gesture of peace. "We are not here to fight," she said calmly. Her words were translated instantly by a device clipped to her belt. "We want to understand why you've come." Zorvak sneered, his mandibles twitching. "You are weak and primitive. Your defiance is futile." Claire whispered urgently to Rachel, "They think we're less advanced than we are. Maybe we should let them keep believing that for now." Rachel nodded slightly before replying to Zorvak. "If you believe we are weak, then prove it. Show us your strength, and we will decide how to respond." Her calm confidence seemed to unsettle Zorvak. He hesitated, studying the humans closely. For a moment, it felt like the entire room held its breath. Finally, he gestured for his guards to stand down. "Very well," he growled. "But know this, your time is running out." Back on the Eclipse Asterisk, Alex let out a low whistle. "That guy really loves drama, doesn't he?" Rachel smiled faintly but remained focused. "He thinks we're helpless, which gives us an advantage. Let's use it wisely." As the Eclipse Asterisk returned to Earth, the team reviewed everything they had learned. The Kryn were proud and aggressive, but they underestimated humanity. That arrogance could be their downfall, or the key to stopping a war before it began. Whatever happened next, one thing was certain: humanity wasn't going down without a fight. And maybe, just maybe, they wouldn't even need to fight at all. Back on Earth, the mood was tense but determined. Daniel Carter called another meeting with his team of experts. He knew that humanity's survival depended on what they did next. The Kryn had made their intentions clear. They wanted Earth, and they weren't going to back down easily. But Daniel also knew something the Kryn didn't. Humanity wasn't as weak or primitive as they seemed. For centuries, humanity had been quietly developing technologies far beyond anything the Kryn could imagine. These advancements weren't meant for war. They were created to protect Earth and ensure its future. But now, those same technologies would become humanity's shield, and perhaps its weapon. Rachel Monroe stood in front of the group, explaining the tools at their disposal. "We have quantum shields," she said, pointing to a holographic display. "They can surround entire cities and block any attack. We've tested them against asteroids and energy blasts. They're nearly indestructible." Daniel nodded. "Good. What about weapons?" Alex Turner stepped forward. "Our drones are ready," he said. "They're small, fast, and controlled by AI. They can dismantle enemy ships without firing a single shot. All we need is the signal to deploy them. Claire Bennett added, and don't forget the Nexus core. It's our ultimate advantage. Without it, the Kryn would run out of energy within weeks. With it, we can power everything we need indefinitely. The Nexus core was humanity's greatest secret. It was a massive, self-sustaining energy source located deep underground. For years, scientists had worked tirelessly to perfect it, knowing it could change the world or save it. Now, it might be the key to stopping the Kryn. As the meeting continued, Alex returned from analyzing data collected during their visit to the Kryn flagship. His face was pale, and his hands trembled slightly as he spoke. "They think we're easy targets," he said. Zorvac acted like we were nothing more than bugs under his boot. "If we show them even a fraction of what we're capable of, they'll lose their nerve." Daniel smiled faintly. "Then that's exactly what we'll do. Let's make sure the Kryn regret ever threatening us." Preparations began immediately. Engineers worked around the clock to activate the quantum shields over major cities. Factories churned out thousands of AI-driven drones, each one programmed to swarm and disable enemy ships. Meanwhile, Rachel and Claire studied the Kryn language and technology, searching for weaknesses they could exploit. The people of Earth remained calm, trusting their leaders to handle the situation. News broadcasts reassured everyone that humanity was safe, but behind the scenes, the tension was palpable. No one knew how the Kryn would react when they realized they'd underestimated their opponents. Finally, the moment came. The Kryn fleet moved closer, positioning itself just outside Earth's atmosphere. Their ships glowed ominously as they prepared to strike. Then, without warning, beams of destructive energy shot toward the planet. But the attack never reached the surface. The quantum shields flared to life, creating shimmering barriers that blocked every blow. The Kryn hesitated, confused by the sudden resistance. Before they could regroup, swarms of tiny drones surged into space, surrounding their ships. Within minutes, the drones had disabled dozens of Kryn vessels, leaving them floating helplessly in orbit. Daniel watched the battle unfold from Earth's command center. "It's working," he murmured, "just like we planned." Rachel stood beside him, her eyes glued to the screens. "This isn't over yet," she said. "The Kryn won't give up so easily." She was right. Despite their losses, the Kryn doubled down, launching wave after wave of attacks. But humanity held firm, using every tool at their disposal to defend the planet. Slowly but surely, the invaders began to realize they had made a grave mistake. Earth wasn't weak. It was stronger than they could have imagined. And as the battle raged on, one thing became clear. Humanity wasn't just fighting to survive. They were proving that peace didn't mean weakness. Even in the face of war, they still smirked. The battle between humanity and the Kryn raged on, but it was clear that the tide was turning. The Kryn had expected an easy victory, but instead they found themselves struggling against a foe they hadn't anticipated. Earth's quantum shields held firm, deflecting every attack, while swarms of AI-driven drones dismantled their ships piece by piece. For the first time in their long history of conquest, the Kryn were losing, and they didn't understand why. Alex Turner piloted the Eclipse back into the heart of the conflict, his hands steady on the controls. Claire Bennett sat beside him, her eyes scanning the data pouring in from the Kryn fleet. "We need to find out what's driving them," she said. "If we can figure out their real motive, we might be able to end this without more bloodshed." Daniel Carter agreed. He knew that destroying the Kryn outright wasn't the answer. Humanity had spent thousands of years building a peaceful world, and he wasn't about to let it slip into chaos now. "Take the Eclipse in closer," he instructed Alex. "Use the cloaking device to get inside their command ship. Find something we can use." With that, Alex activated the cloaking mechanism, rendering the Eclipse invisible to the Kryn sensors. The small ship slipped through the chaos of the battle and docked unnoticed with the Kryn mothership. As Alex and Claire stepped onto the alien vessel, they moved cautiously, knowing that one wrong move could mean disaster. Inside, the atmosphere was tense. The Kryn crew scurried about, shouting orders in their guttural language. Claire's translation device worked overtime, decoding fragments of their conversations. She whispered to Alex, "They're panicking. Their resources are running low. They can't keep this up much longer." They made their way deeper into the ship, avoiding patrols of insectoid guards. Finally, they reached the command center. There, Zorvac stood hunched over a glowing console, his massive frame trembling with frustration. Claire quickly downloaded the data from the console while Alex kept watch. Within moments, they had what they needed and slipped back to the Eclipse undetected. Back on Earth, Rachel Monroe analyzed the stolen information. What she discovered shocked everyone. The Kryn weren't conquerors, they were refugees. Their home planet, located near a dying star, was collapsing under environmental disasters caused by centuries of unchecked industrial growth. Desperation had driven them to invade Earth, believing it to be weak and undefended. They saw humanity not as equals but as obstacles standing in the way of survival. Rachel brought the findings to Daniel. "This changes everything," she said. "They're not here to destroy us. They're trying to save themselves." Daniel frowned, deep in thought. "If we crush them now, we'll be no better than they were when they started this war. But if we let them stay, how do we know they won't turn on us later?" Rachel nodded. "It's a risk. But maybe there's another way. We have the Nexus core. It can provide enough energy for both species. If we offer them sanctuary, with conditions, we might be able to avoid more fighting." Daniel hesitated. It was a bold plan, and not everyone would agree with it. But he knew Rachel was right. Destroying the Kryn wouldn't solve anything. It would only prove that humanity was capable of the same cruelty they despised. "Let's try it," he said finally. "But we'll need to make sure they understand the rules." As the battle continued above Earth, humanity prepared to make an offer the Kryn couldn't refuse. The question was, would pride or desperation force them to accept? Daniel Carter stood in the command center, staring at the screens showing the ongoing battle. The Kryn fleet was battered but not yet defeated. Their ships continued to fire blindly, their desperation growing with each passing moment. Humanity had the upper hand, but Daniel knew that winning wasn't enough. He wanted to end this conflict without destroying the Kryn entirely. Rachel's discovery about their true motives weighed heavily on his mind. Rachel Monroe approached him, her expression thoughtful. "We need to act quickly," she said. "If we wait too long, they might do something reckless, something that could hurt both of us." Daniel nodded. "You're right. Let's send a message to Zorvac. Tell him we know the truth about their situation, and make it clear that we're offering them a chance to survive, but only if they agree to our terms." Rachel prepared the transmission carefully. When it was ready, she broadcast it directly to the Kryn flagship. The message was simple and direct. "We know your homeworld is dying. We can help you, but only if you stop fighting and work with us. Surrender now, and we will offer you sanctuary on Earth, with conditions." At first, there was no response. The Kryn ships continued their assault, though their attacks were weaker now, almost aimless. Then, after what felt like hours, Zorvac's voice crackled through the speakers. "You lie," he growled. "You are trying to trick us into weakness." Rachel stepped forward, speaking clearly into the microphone. "We don't need to trick you. Look at your own data. Your resources are nearly gone, and your people are suffering. If you keep fighting, you'll lose everything. But if you accept our offer, we can save you and yourselves." There was a long pause. Finally, Zorvac replied, his voice heavy with doubt. "What are your conditions?" Daniel took over, his tone firm but calm. "You will share your knowledge with us, everything you've learned about surviving in space and managing large populations. You will live under our supervision, following our laws." And most importantly, you will work with us to prevent the mistakes that destroyed your homeworld from happening here." Zorvak didn't answer immediately. It was clear he was torn between pride and survival. The Kryn had always seen themselves as superior, but now they were being forced to admit they needed help. For a species used to dominance, it was a bitter pill to swallow. Back on Earth, people waited anxiously for the Kryn's decision. Some argued that humanity shouldn't take the risk of letting the Kryn stay. Others believed it was the right thing to do, a chance to show compassion even in the face of aggression. Finally, Zorvak spoke again. His voice was low and reluctant. "Very well. We accept your terms, but know this, if you betray us, we will not hesitate to strike back." Daniel let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. "Understood. Stand down your forces, and we'll begin negotiations." As the Kryn ships powered down their weapons, the battle came to an abrupt halt. The skies above Earth grew quiet once more. For the first time in days, people allowed themselves to feel hope. The war was over, not because one side had crushed the other, but because humanity had chosen a different path. Rachel smiled faintly as she turned to Daniel. "This is just the beginning," she said. "Integrating two species won't be easy." Daniel nodded. "No, it won't. But if we can pull it off, it might just be the start of something incredible." For now, the immediate threat was gone. But the real challenge lay ahead, building a future where humans and Kryn could coexist peacefully. It wouldn't be simple, but humanity had faced harder problems before, and always found a way to adapt. In the weeks that followed, humanity and the Kryn began the difficult process of working together. It wasn't easy. There were misunderstandings, mistrust, and moments when it seemed like peace might collapse entirely. But Daniel Carter and Rachel Monroe refused to give up. They knew this was a chance to create something truly unique, a world where two very different species could live side by side. The first step was finding a place for the Kryn to settle. Earth's cities were already crowded, so scientists proposed building new habitats in remote areas. These structures would be designed using a mix of human and Kryn technology, ensuring they were both functional and sustainable. The Nexus core provided more than enough energy to power these massive projects, and soon, towering complexes began to rise across deserts, oceans, and even floating in the sky. Zorvak, the Kryn ambassador, struggled to adjust to his new role. He had spent centuries leading his people with pride and authority, but now he found himself answering to humans. At first, he resisted every suggestion, insisting that the Kryn knew best. But as time went on, he started to see the benefits of cooperation. Human engineers introduced him to concepts like renewable energy and environmental conservation, ideas that could have saved his homeworld if they'd been adopted sooner. Alex Turner and Claire Bennett played key roles in bridging the gap between the two species. Alex worked closely with Kryn pilots, teaching them how to use Earth's advanced flight systems. Claire focused on language and culture, helping humans and Kryn understand each other better. Slowly but surely, trust began to grow. Children from both species started playing together, their laughter echoing through shared spaces. Artists collaborated on murals and sculptures that celebrated their unity. But not everyone was happy about the arrangement. Some humans worried that giving the Kryn a home would lead to trouble down the line. A small group even tried to sabotage the project, claiming it was too risky to let aliens stay on Earth. Daniel dealt with these dissenters firmly, reminding them of the lessons humanity had learned over thousands of years. "We've come too far to turn back now," he said during one heated meeting. "If we can't find a way to coexist, then what kind of future are we building?" Rachel agreed. She believed that helping the Kryn rebuild their lives was not just an act of kindness. It was a responsibility. "We've made mistakes in the past," she told Daniel one evening as they watched the sun set over a newly completed Kryn habitat. "This is our chance to do better." As months turned into years, the changes became undeniable. The Kryn brought their own knowledge and skills to the table, accelerating advancements in fields like medicine, engineering, and space exploration. Humanity, in turn, taught the Kryn the value of balance and sustainability. Together, they created technologies that neither species could have developed alone. The scars of war began to fade. People smiled more often, and the fear that had once gripped the planet gave way to curiosity and optimism. Even Zorvek softened over time, admitting privately to Daniel that he had misjudged humanity. "You are stronger than I thought," he said one day. "Not because of your weapons, but because of your ability to adapt and forgive." For Daniel and Rachel, the journey was far from over. There would always be challenges ahead, especially as two vastly different cultures continued to merge. But they were confident that humanity and the Kryn could build a brighter future together. And so, the 3,000-year Serenity didn't end with destruction or despair. Instead, it evolved into something greater, a partnership between species, united by the belief that survival wasn't about domination, it was about cooperation. Decades passed, and Earth transformed into a world no one could have imagined. The alliance between humans and the Kryn had not only survived but thrived. Cities grew taller and more vibrant, blending human creativity with Kryn precision. Skyscrapers shimmered with energy-efficient panels, powered by the Nexus core, while floating gardens and underwater habitats showcased the best of both species' ingenuity. Humanity and the Kryn had learned to live together, their differences becoming strengths rather than obstacles. Daniel Carter retired from his role as a leader, choosing instead to spend his days on a quiet farm surrounded by fields of golden wheat. He often sat outside in the evenings, watching the stars through a telescope. Sometimes, he thought about how close Earth had come to destruction, and how far it had come since then. The lessons of those early days of conflict stayed with him: humility, patience, and the power of understanding. Rachel Monroe continued her work, though she focused more on education now. She traveled across the planet, teaching young humans and Kryn alike about the importance of cooperation and sustainability. Her lectures were always filled with stories of how humanity had faced its greatest challenge and emerged stronger. "We didn't win because we were better," she would say. "We won because we chose to adapt." Alex Turner and Claire Bennett became legends in their own right. Alex opened a flight academy where humans and Kryn trained side by side, learning to navigate the stars together. Claire wrote books about language and culture, helping future generations understand the beauty of diversity. Their children, a mix of human and Kryn heritage, grew up seeing no difference between the two species. They were simply part of the same family. Zorvak, once a proud and unyielding leader, became a symbol of change. Though he never fully embraced human customs, he acknowledged that their way of life had saved his people. Before he passed away, he gave a speech that was broadcast across the planet. "We came here as enemies," he said, his voice deep and resonant. "But we leave as allies. Let this be a lesson to all who follow. Survival is not about dominance. It is about unity." The Kryn integrated fully into human society, contributing their knowledge and skills while learning from humanity's mistakes. Together, they tackled problems that had once seemed insurmountable. Environmental disasters were reversed, new planets were colonized, and diseases were eradicated. Culture flourished as art, music, and ideas blended in ways no one had predicted. The 3,000-year Serenity hadn't ended, it had evolved. What began as a fragile truce blossomed into a partnership that redefined what it meant to be alive. Humanity's confidence wasn't arrogance, it was resilience. They hadn't triumphed because of their weapons or shields, but because of their ability to grow and adapt. One evening, Rachel stood on a hill overlooking a bustling city. Lights twinkled like stars below, and the hum of life filled the air. She smiled, feeling a deep sense of pride. Earth was no longer just a human home. It was a sanctuary for all. The Kryn had brought challenges, yes, but also opportunities. Together, they had created something extraordinary. As she turned to leave, a child ran up to her, a little girl with bright eyes and a curious mind. Will we ever meet other aliens? The girl asked. Rachel laughed softly. Maybe someday, she replied. But for now, let's focus on what we've built here. After all, if we can make peace with the Kryn, we can do anything. And with that, Rachel walked back toward the city, ready to face whatever the future held. Humanity had smirked at the threat of war, and in doing so, had found a way to turn fear into hope. The 3,000-year Serenity wasn't just a chapter in history, it was the beginning of a story that would last for generations to come.